I want to thank you for joining me today. Today we are going to reclaim some beverage bottles for the purpose of flint knapping. As we've said in previous videos, that it is wonderful when we can go out and have people give us materials in order to flint knap to make arrowheads out of and to practice our technique. In my opinion, one of the greatest things for doing that is beverage bottles, whether it be alcoholic or soda bottles, it doesn't matter. Manufactured glass or faux obsidian, if you will. Manufactured glass is a great tool for honing our techniques because essentially it's trash that we are reclaiming, repurposing, and recycling. So it helps us do a service for our community by cleaning up our environment. And in that process, we hone our skills as flint knappers and make wonderful gifts for those that are also interested, because you have no money essentially invested in collecting this material for flint knapping. Now, manufactured glass, it flakes and works just like obsidian. You really can tell no difference between the two, except for manufactured glass seems to be not as forgiving as natural materials. So it will exaggerate something in your technique that needs improving. So it's a wonderful tool. Now, these are free, obviously. We just walked down our county road and picked them up out of the borrow pit. You know, people donate there quite often. But you can also purchase manufactured glass. One that is very popular right now is dichroic glass that was developed in the aerospace industry. You can go to several ceramic places and they can actually fuse clear plate glass with dichroic glass. It is a little bit on the expensive side. It's, you know, for a 1x2 inch cut, it's about $10. So it's not the cheapest stuff, but it's very, very beautiful. Google dichroic glass, and you'll just see that it's all over the place. They're using it a lot in jewelry right now. You can also pick up factory glass, works great, and that's just cast off from a smelting process. It's great. Again, all they're using it, they're just throwing it aside because it's a burden to them. It's a byproduct of the smelting process. You can get very unique colors, shapes, but there may be a lot of inclusions in that manufactured glass, but it's a great resource. So those are essentially the three manufactured glasses that you're going to be looking for: either jewelry glass, dichroic glass, manufactured or slab glass, or reclaimed glass. They all work exactly the same essentially. So what we're going to do today is we're going to show you two different methods on how to retrieve the glass that you're going to want to use for flint knapping. The majority of the people just use the bottom of the glass because it's the thickest part. Now, people like, who's now deceased, Don Crabtree or Gene Titmus, one of the fathers of modern flint knapping, they would use the entire bottle, sides, bottom. They use the entire bottle. Amazing flint knappers. Both of them now are deceased. It would behoove you to know who these people are. Look at their work, because they set the groundwork for what flint knappers are doing today, especially in a scholastic world, and how we understand how the people flint knapped 100 years ago, before, well, let's be accurate, before about 1470, with the introduction of the Spanish invaders as they brought in their manufactured glass. Before then, it was all natural materials. And in Idaho, it dates back 13,000 years to the Clovis people. They were big game hunters. We had mammoth and bison antiquus here in Idaho. There's evidence that they hunted and processed both of those animals using essentially stone tools through this process. Okay, so let's reclaim some of the glass here. I have a 5-gallon bucket with just a little bit of water at the bottom of it. And what that does is it helps act as a cushion to catch the glass as it falls into it, so it's not slamming against the ground. It's going to go ahead and fracture. The first method I'm not real pleased with, but I want to show you. That way you have the knowledge, and then you can make up your own mind on what you want to use. Essentially what we're going to do is we're just going to take a hard object, slide it inside, and shake it or agitate it. It's going to then create impact or percussion on the bottom, knocking the bottom out. The problem with this though is, like when we do our percussion flaking and flint knapping and reduction of obsidian off of a core, you're using a hard object, hitting it against your core, and you know that if you don't hit it just right, you create a minute fracture inside the core or an occlusion. Well, isn't that essentially what we're doing here? But this is a method. So if we just pop it in there. Okay, bottom came out. The problem though, if we look at it, we didn't get a very clean break. Okay, not clean at all. We're actually going to pull these out. Second method, it's using more physics than actual brute force. We have a bottle that's filled to water right about here. Just right where the neck meets the body is where your water line wants to be. We can use our hand on this with really no special tools if you're just doing one or two. And if you can harness the chi of Mr. Miyagi, you should be able to knock the bottom of this off and keep it fairly intact. Now this could be a good party trick if you take the biggest guy out there and say, hey look, I bet you I can knock the bottom of a bottle off with just my bare hands. Challenge him to do it first and say, hey, if I can do it and you can't, you buy my drinks for the rest of the night. Well, let's see here. Well, that wasn't a very good hit. There we go. Took a little bit more off than we wanted to, but that's all right. Now this is, and you can see, I'm just peeling the label off, so it actually fractured right down to the base of that glass. Here we are. Just the bottom of a bottle. Just perfect bottom. Now, we're going to go ahead and we can flint knap that down and make a beautiful blue glass arrowhead. And we'll do that later in another video on the actual reduction of glass. Now, if you happen to have a nice, really good day of collecting manufactured glass or full obsidian, and you have several bottles to do, your hand's going to get quite sore by trying to pop those off. Does it give you good technique, that repetition? Absolutely. And so when you go into you want to show off for somebody and you're like, hey, look at this, and you kind of exaggerate a little bit, it's a lot of fun. But let's say you're just going through to process as much as you possibly can. Replace your hand with something else that's soft. So like a rubber mallet. Hold it about the same and just make sure you don't grab your hand and hit your hand. But when you grab the bottle, and either one, well actually, with your hand first, I forgot to mention it, you want your hand to be right at the same level of the bottle so that when you pop it with your other hand, your strong hand, you're not bruising your hand on just the top of the bottle, on the neck of the bottle. It gives you a little bit of extra pad. So we'll use this. So when we're using a mallet, drop your hand down just a little bit so the skin isn't pinched. Wouldn't feel very good. And we're just going to go ahead and give it a couple pops. And there it goes. Till already, just the bottom came out. And there we are. Perfect circle, just the bottom came out. So we've got two bottoms that now we can repurpose and use those for sharpening our flint knapping techniques. The techniques that we're going to want to work on is our pressure flaking, and you can use that with direct pressure or indirect pressure flaking, as well as our notching. Now this is a great tool for developing your notching techniques. Notching is one of those areas in which most of when you're going to break a piece, it's going to be during the notching process. So if you have something like this that you can just practice and practice and practice your notching, it's great. You can turn these into eccentrics for necklaces and things like that. The Mayans and Aztecs in South America were known for their eccentrics. Amazing pieces. And they were doing it at the 100 to 200 BC. Sorry, not BC, AD. It was when they occupied and were in the heyday down in the Yucatan Peninsula and northern South America. Great flint knapping. I would encourage you to study some of their skills. It will only help you become a better flint knapper. I wanted to thank you again for coming and visiting me today and allowing me to share one of my passions with you. I hope that you've seen something that you like and that you wanted to use in your own flint knapping skills, and that my passion for flint knapping and the process of indigenous living has worn off on you just a little bit. So if you don't mind, I want to tease you with things to come. We'll be doing a video on friction fire, or also known as a bow drill, live traps, deadfall traps, the Paiute trap. So this isn't just for flint knapping. This is a kind of more of a paleo technology, a paleo lifestyle, or anthro lifestyle. So please look forward to new videos that are going to be coming out in the future. Thank you again for joining.